8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Ramesh Piris and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. The President states that the IMF proposals must be implemented, whether good or bad. The SJB says that a 90-minute discussion with the President was positive. The Attorney General assures that the structures at golf face set up by the protesters will not be removed until the 10th of August. 5 deaths reported due to the inclement weather. The private bus operators temporarily call off the strike. The PUCSL says no scheduled power cuts this weekend. The registrations for fuel pass system disabled for 48 hours. In news overseas, Taiwan tensions cloud East Asia summit. And in sports news, it's cricket. 48th Josephian Peterite Limited Overs encounter will be held tomorrow at the SSC grounds, Colombo. Those are the headlines, and now more to the details of the local news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says proposals of the International Monetary Fund must be implemented to recover from the economic crisis, regardless of whether they are good or bad and regardless of who likes them or not. The President said the government has the right to question for alternative proposals if any party opposes the IMF proposals. The head of the state, speaking at a conference organized by the Advocate Institute at the BMICH this morning, said the old economic model can no longer be implemented, and adding that innovative thinking is required while paying attention to global changes. The Samaki Janabalawege today engaged in discussions with the President pertaining to a way forward for an all-party government program. Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa, including parliamentarians Rajith Manduma Bandara, Rajith Senaratne, Kabir Hashim, Nalin Bandara Jamaha, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, Manu Ganeshan, Rauf Hakim, Harsha De Silva and several others were present at the talks at the Presidential Secretariat. MP De Silva, taking onto the Twitter, said that the 90-minute discussion was positive. AP Premadasa said that he attended the meeting with a positive mind and wished to see how best they could all work together through the parliament. The opposition leader has also requested that the state of emergency be lifted and for protesters who have been part of the people's struggle, who are currently arrested or remanded, be released and for an end to the intimidation. The Disaster Management Centre says that 5 deaths have been reported in Sri Lanka due to the inclement weather. 1 individual died in a landslide while 4 others passed away in floods. Speaking at a media briefing at the Government Information Department today, Director General of Special Awareness Division of the Disaster Management Centre, Sugat Disanaka, said the deceased are the residents from Kandy, Nuwara Eliya and Ratnapura. He said the 65 division secretariat areas are severely affected by the adverse weather conditions. Disanaka also added that 3,471 families have been affected due to the heavy rains and ensuing natural disasters. He revealed that 574 persons have been placed in temporary shelters. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. Private bus operators have temporarily called off the strike action. The strike action was called off after assurance by the authorities that fuel quota allocated for buses through the QR code will be revised. Several private bus unions withdrew from services as of midnight, claiming that the fuel released through the National Fuel Pass QR code was insufficient for a week's usage. Commuters were severely inconvenienced and stranded at bus halls owing to the lack of buses. New Director General and Chief Executive Officer have been appointed to the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, Mr. P.A. Jakarta, who was serving as the Additional Director General of the CAASL, was appointed to the position. Mr. Jakarta, who was Commissioner Officer of the Sri Lanka Air Force, joined the Civil Aviation Authority in the year 2004 as a Civil Aviation Inspector. Mr. Jakarta obtained his bachelor's degree from the University of Colombo, specializing in economics. He further studied economics for his master's degree at the University of Caledonia. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. The President states that the IMF proposals must be implemented whether good or bad. The SLBC says that the 90-minute discussion with the president was positive. The Attorney General assures that structures at golfways set up by the protesters will not be removed until the 10th of August. 5 deaths reported due to the inclement weather. The private bus operators temporarily call off the strike. The PUCSL says no scheduled power cuts this weekend. The registration or fuel pass system disabled for 48 hours. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for tonight, the Attorney General today assured the Court of Appeal that the temporary structures at golfways set up by protesters will not be removed until the 10th of August without a court order. Additional Solicitor General Subhati Dharmavardhana, representing the Attorney General, informed the courts of this decision where 4 petitions filed calling for a writ order to be issued against the temporary structures at the golfways were taken up for hearing today. Officers of the Fort Police Station on Wednesday informed protesters to vacate golfways and to remove the structures by 5 p.m. today. The petitions were taken up before the judges Sobita Rajakaruna and Dhammika Ganepola. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
The Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka announced this evening that registering new users to the National Fuel Pass QR system will be disabled for the next 48 hours. According to ICTA, the registration process is suspended due to the planned maintenance work by the Department of Motor Traffic. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara noted that users who have already registered their vehicles will have no impact when using the system. And that came to you in Watch Light.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
Headlines of the world news. Taiwan tensions cloud East Asia summit. Israel hits Gaza with airstrikes as tensions escalate. 3 more ships carrying grain leave Ukraine. Those are the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the world news. Taiwan on a high on agenda as top diplomats from some of the world's major power came together on Friday for the East Asia summit in Cambodian capital Phnom Penh. Tensions have been running high as China kicked off a massive military drill the day before. They followed a visit to Taipei by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The summit included the 10 members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It also was attended by the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and his counterparts Wang Yi from China and Sergei Lavrov from Russia. Israel says that it is attacking Gaza with warplanes and declared a special situation on the home front days after tensions with Palestinians. The friction follows the arrest of a senior Palestinian leader in the occupied West Bank. A blast could be heard in Gaza City on Friday where smoke poured out of the 7th floor of a tall building. The Israel Defense Force is currently striking in the Gaza Strip. Turkey's defense minister says the 3 more ships carrying corn left Black Sea ports in the southern Ukraine on Friday. The vessels are expected to undergo inspections in the waters of Istanbul and then head to Britain and other destinations. The first ship carrying Ukraine grain since Russia blockade on the Black Sea left the port of Odessa on Monday. It is now heading for Lebanon. Meanwhile, the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is scheduled to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on Friday in the southern city of Sochi. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Taiwan tensions cloud East Asia summit. Israel hits Gaza with airstrikes as tensions escalate. 3 more ships carrying grain leave Ukraine. That was the world news, and now let's move on to development news. Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka and its chairman Janaka Ratnayaka said that Sri Lanka will not impose any power cuts on the weekend of August 6th and 7th. This is the first time since mid-April 2022 the daily power cuts have not been implemented. The state-run Ceylon Electricity Board said the reduction in power cuts is due to the increased hydropower generation thanks to the ongoing southwest monsoon. That was the development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank, we present your future.
We got to sports news in cricket. Sri Lanka's longest running school's annual one-day encounter played between St. Joseph's College and St. Peter's College for Reverend Father Peter Epile Memorial Trophy will be played on 6th August 2022 from 9:30 a.m. onwards at the SSC Playground in Colombo. The Saints' annual 50 overs encounter was first played on 16th of March 1975 at Dali Road, Colombo. This year, the two captains, Siobhan Daniels of St. Joseph's College and Vanuja Kumara of St. Peter's College, are both talented all-rounders who represented Sri Lanka at the Under-19 Asia Cup in United Arab Emirates and World Cup in the Caribbean in the year 2022. Due to the present situation in the country and the rising COVID numbers, the two schools have decided to play without spectators. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's national carrier, Sri Lankan Airlines, has dismissed the claims made by a passenger in a video on social media that meals are unavailable in the business class flights. Issuing a clarification, the airline categorically denied the accusation on the unavailability of meals in the business class and said the video content created by a passenger and widely shared on social media platforms is a deliberate misrepresentation of facts to prompt public dislikes towards the airline. In its clarification, Sri Lankan Airlines said that as all other global airlines, Sri Lankan Airlines is mindful of minimizing wastage when it comes to uplifting a number of extra meals, as it is both economically detrimental and contradicts the sustainability ethos of the airline. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
In economic news, amid widening gap between the rich and the poor in Sri Lanka, the island nation will have to go for higher taxation, including on wealth, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said on Friday while delivering a keynote speech at an economic forum. The crisis-hit country is struggling with lower state revenue and higher government expenditure, with the 86 cents of each rupee of tax revenue being spent on state sector wages and pensions. Tax rates are expected to rise under the International Monetary Fund program in the future. That was economic news, and let's move on to the weather report. The Met Department says that showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy rainfalls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamuwa province and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the northern, north-central and northwestern provinces. Strong winds about 50 km per hour can be expected at times along the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north-central and northwestern provinces. And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. The President states that the IMF proposals must be implemented, whether good or bad. The SJB says that the 90-minute discussion with the President was positive. The Attorney General assures that structures and golf face set up by the protesters will not be removed until the 10th of August. 5 deaths reported due to the inclement weather. The private bus operators temporarily call off their strike. The PUCSL says no scheduled power cuts this weekend. The registration for fuel pass system disabled for 48 hours. In news overseas, Taiwan tensions cloud East Asia Summit. And in sports news, it's cricket. 48th Josephine Peter and Limited Overs encounter will be played tomorrow at the SSC grounds. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.